Hey guys, I'm back here with a video. This one is going to be a great one, I'm sure. We're going to talk about Alex Honnold and Bear Grylls rappelling off of I don't really know what it's called. It's one of those, rope bridges across a chasm. And yeah, I'm going to try to check out their systems. I remember when this came out it premiered on National Geographic a while ago, and I watched it, and I always thought about how interesting this rappel setup was. So now I'm going to talk to you guys about it. So let's just hop right into it.
Free solo climber Alex Honnold and I are high up in the Swiss Alps, trying to get to the bottom of this ravine.
Let's rappel out the bridge. It's a great idea. I reckon we try and do it from here.
That's pretty deep.
You sure? Do we have this much rope?
Yeah. We're gonna need this. We're gonna need the extra length and also the emergency length as well. So what we're gonna do, counterbalance rappel. You go one side,
So I just want to say something here. That rope that Bear always carries with him in all of his shows, I feel like it's always a poor length, for stuff that he wants to do. I feel like he only carries around 20 meters of rope, and it's sometimes he goes scrambling with people and it could come in handy, but he's always it just has this coil of rope around him. It's a great image, it's a great mountain man image, but for any of the rappels he does, I doubt that they ever actually use that rope because it's just too small, especially this one.
go the other. As long as we go at the same time, it's going to work.
Boy, and as long as we have twice as much rope.
This is a technique that the Special Forces use a lot because it's fast and it doesn't actually require anything to anchor to. But we're going to need all of our rope and the spare rope.
Yeah, no, you still need an anchor because that rope has to go around something. What Bear is getting at is how, since it's a simul rappel, you're each sort of counterbalancing each other as you go down, but you still need an actual anchor that's going to support the weight of two people. One thing that, it's kind of maybe hard to think about in the moment is with simul rappelling is you are putting an extra body weight on the rope and on your anchor, so you need to have a really bomber anchor if you're gonna think about simul rappelling, which these guys definitely have.
To reach the bottom of this one. This will be about a 300-foot counterbalance rappel. And by using the same rope, Alex and I will attempt to descend simultaneously. But if one of us puts weight on the rope without the counterweight of the other person, Alex or I could plummet to the bottom of this ravine. So we've got to make sure we go at the same time and maintain the same speed during our descent. The thing is, what I do know...
Yeah, so I'm going to get real in the weeds here. Bear Grylls says a counterbalance rappel. Technically speaking, it's not a counterbalance rappel, it's a simul rappel. And those two are actually different in the climbing world. Counterbalance rappel is when one person is controlling the descent of two people and the rope runs freely through the anchor above. A simul rappel is when each climber is controlling their own descent down, but they're offsetting each other's weight, so the rope can still slide freely through the anchor, but each person can control their own descent. So technically, that was kind of stupid, but I just wanted to call him out on it.
There's going to be a lot of friction still on these bits, and that is the sort of stuff that can cut rope, so I don't want to do something that protects us. Any spare socks?
I guess you could use my socks. Yeah, there's some in the bag.
Have you got any spare ones?
Yeah, for tonight.
There's a lot of them.
Dude, Alex is so not into losing his socks. I'm sure he was looking forward to getting at camp at night, and they're gonna be all uncomfortable during the night. And he's like, well, at least I have my one warm pair of socks, I can change out of these wet, sweaty socks and have warm feet. And then Bear's all of a sudden like, hey, Alex, yeah, we're gonna leave your socks behind on this rappel that I just thought of right now.
Abrasion on these wires, little bits of metal sticking up, that just sort of thing that will cut through rope really easily, especially if we start bouncing on this thing as we're descending. So I reckon, look, if we put over the top of that.
That is a very improvised rope protector.
I think it's good. It's going to run through that.
So Bear totally has the right idea with this. Here's a still image. That is definitely like what's that stuff called again? Like it's not barbed wire, but I'm blanking on the name right now. But yeah, that will abrade your rope for sure. So any sort of crossways motion on it, you could totally strip the sheath of your rope, and then you are hosed. So I think padding the rope on that wire was a great idea. Nice job, Bear. And the fact that they have the two ropes there is also nice because if one rope gets hosed, you have the other one to back you up. Of course, the anchor setup will be a bit different when you see it coming up here.
Okay. This is the most bomber rappel of my entire life.
Yeah, hold up there. Now, another still image. Alex is totally correct. This is a bomber anchor. You can see originally, like at the start of the video, it showed kind of a true simul rappel setup with the rope just running freely through a carabiner that Bear set up. And I know that at least on Bear's crew, there's a guy that's kind of the designated safety officer. And that's the guy who's like, no, we can't do this, or yes, we can. And I wouldn't be surprised if this guy stepped in and he's like, no, this is what we're going to do. And so breaking down this image here, the master point, you see the two ropes that are tied with figure 8 knots coming down. And that's basically to isolate each strand that these guys are rappelling on. So now it doesn't matter if one person unweights one rope, one person unweights the other rope, because they're isolated strands. So that's definitely like a safer addition to this whole deal. Now, all of a sudden, instead of Bear having both his life and Alex's life in his hands, they each have their own life in their hands. And what's also neat is that it's a 2-rope system, so you could totally just tie an 8 knot in the middle of one rope, and then each person does a single strand down. But they have 2 ropes in the system, which I think is a smart idea because of the abrasion against the wire. And the socks are doing their job for sure. But this way, if one end of the rope gets hosed, you could have another rope as a full-on backup, as a full-on backup. This could be a bit of a bleed over from work at heights and ANSI sort of stuff. Where not ANSI, what am I thinking of? ENSA, no, not ENSA, and IRATA, or professional rope access sort of deal could be played into this, except that they're still rappelling both ropes like you normally would as a climber, but it is a bit of a spillover into that world with the having 2 completely independent lines.
This is totally amazing. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this feels suspiciously like jumping out of the plane.
Yeah.
Like,
Here we go. Okay, so we got to go at the same time.
The music is great.
yep.
Stop. All right. Here's the one last thing that they added into the anchor, and I actually had to watch this like a few times to see. At the top, you see where the padding is, and you can see they really buffeted out that padding. That's like, the socks are still there, which is hilarious, but they actually have like foam across that wire now. So that rope is fully protected. But you can see a carabiner and what appears to be maybe an alpine butterfly clipping the rope into that into the wire that has the padding. So now not only do you have the figure 8 knot up top on both strands, but now you also have the rope attached to that wire below. So you get like 3 points of protection going on with mega amount of padding and the socks. So yeah, like Alex said, this is a totally bomber anchor. And that is everything that they did to set up I'm not sure why they added that carabiner in. I'm guessing it's because it helps hold the rope in place on the padding there. I guess you could also argue it is another point, so they made a 3-point anchor. Maybe that's what they wanted. I feel like it's getting to a little bit of an overkill situation. But, I mean, that's it for the anchor anyway.
Right, so maybe not too much at the same time, so we don't wreck each other.
You ready?
3, 2, 1, see ya.
Yeah, on a total free hanger rappel like this, it's great to stagger people like they did right here. You don't have to be miles away from each other, but just like a few feet, maybe a meter apart is really great for free hanging because you have no control over your spatial ability, you know. Another thing while I have the video paused is you notice how they're just rappelling on ATCs without third hands. And, you know, that's kind of their choice. It's kind of funny how they built out that anchor so much, but then both of them are just like free soloing when it comes to rappelling. Just kind of an interesting deal. But one thing you also notice is I think this rappel is actually pretty close to 300 feet. So they brought ropes that are like 600 custom made, 600 footer ropes, or maybe they just lied about the distance. But you can definitely see with the weight of the rope, it's really, there's a lot of rope weight while these guys are rappelling down at first. And then when the video progresses and they're like halfway down, you see how it's a lot easier to slide through the ATC. So that gives me the impression that this is actually a pretty far drop for them.
Should we like stay a little bit apart?
Yeah, like this is good.
So bouncy.
Yeah, that's why. That's where I put the rope protection in, you know? Okay, we'll get a bit more speed now.
Okay.
Yeah, you see Bear just said that. We get a bit little speed right now. That's because they're like halfway down. There's a lot less rope weight holding down their brake strands. Also, I'm not sure about how wide this rope is. It may be pretty wide for their devices that they're using, which helps with adding friction. So it's just something, you know. I think all that is to say is that they are actually rappelling pretty far.
Woo! See, most of the time I have to go super slow with guess. This is great.
That is a freaking amazing rappel. Yeah, that's awesome. It's a long ways. That's a pleasure. That's a lovely rappel, super fun. So well done. I think the socks add some nice padding, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty cool. I guess I always enjoy watching some Bear Grylls stuff, just to see all the wacky things he does. Military is a strange place to learn any sort of climbing stuff for sure. But there you have it. I mean, they made it down safe. The safety officer stepped in and really built out that anchor. Of course, nothing is retrievable now. They're depending fully on their crew to take everything down and drop it to them, or, you know, give Bear back his little coil of rope that he carries. But yeah, good TV, fun to watch, and it's always fun it is fun to see how chill Honnold is throughout all this because it's so mundane, and Bear's just like, you know, he's just a little extra gripped. So that's always kind of funny. Anyway, like, good video, good TV. If you haven't seen it, check it out.